I mean, going from the squad, you seem to be fully fit now. Is there any still question marks hanging over any of the players at all?
Yeah, we're pretty good. There's a little question mark on Trent Waterhouse. We'll give him up to the 11th hour as to whether he makes it or not. But we've got some able bodies in the waiting, so some big decisions to be made over the next few days. But we'll go with whatever team we pick out of that 19 is going to be a strong and healthy team.
And I mean, is there any concerns from you about putting Richie Myler in after considering the amount of time he's been without a game?
If he gets the nod, I'm sure he'll do a great job. If he's called upon, he's just full of enthusiasm, and I think you saw when he made his return game last time, he was thrown in after a number of weeks, and he played exceptionally well. So if he's called upon, whether it's this week or and if we're lucky enough to progress, I'm sure even in a big game like a grand final, Rich would put his hand up and perform well if called upon.
Okay. And what does Myler bring to the side that you've not had, or he's not had in the last few weeks, I suppose?
Not that each player brings something different. Not something that we've not had, but he certainly brings his enthusiasm and energy, and he's certainly one of the best support runners in the game. And there's a couple of breaks that we made there last week that I could easily see Rich finishing off, but he's a quality young player and playing well, and he's been developing really well over the last few years. So whichever players you pick and bring their own qualities to the mix. And just because I'm mentioning some of Richard's, there's some other players, if they're selected, they'll actually contribute in a slightly different way, but also in a positive manner as well.
So how then, in terms of you've said often about your selection headaches and things like that. So how has that process been over the last few days and over the next few days? Is it really difficult? Do you find it very difficult?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a matter of having to disappoint some people who are very, very capable as well, and you got to make some decisions based on, sometimes it's form, sometimes it's opposition, sometimes it's a physical thing, sometimes it's where they are emotionally as well. But whenever you've got to deliver that as a coach, you're going to, as you can see from that team of 19, I've got to disappoint two people, and I've already disappointed some other boys who felt that they could be in the mix as well, leading up to that 19. So I'm not looking for sympathy or in that respect. It's the situation that I would much prefer to have as a coach, but at the same time, it's a difficult one to leave people out of games they so desperately work towards and work so hard for all year, and then not to be chosen to be a participant in it. They can still play a huge part for us, and our boys do. They're very good when they handle their own personal disappointments, but it's important that they do that and make sure that the team comes before everything else, and before even their own satisfaction of making the team or not. But that's a testing thing for some players at certain stages. Okay,
and one of the reasons why Stephen said that Huddersfield were selected for the club call was you had that extra couple of days to prepare, and so how, as a coach, how useful is that extra few days to have in terms of preparing for a specific opposition?
Incredibly, and I thought it was really smart and wise as well, because not only could we narrow it down earlier, we pretty much had our preparation, our cuts of our opponents done leading up to that game down to 2. We didn't have to prepare for one of 4 teams, and we knew whichever team that we chose out of that 4 was going to be a difficult opponent. So for the board to choose that we were going to go for that one game, it narrows it down to 2. So coaches and coaching staff and playing staff are able to narrow down exactly the strengths and weaknesses of 2 teams, but you could probably say our homework had been done probably 15 minutes into that game as well. We pretty much knew who our opponents were going to be on that Thursday night, probably after 15 minutes. So, we could plough ahead and prepare and know what was coming for us. And we got an opportunity also to see just how good they can be. Huddersfield, when they're in full flow, they're a very, very good team. And so we've got a healthy respect for them, but it gave us our maximum opportunity to prepare for a team.
And do you do that more specific sort of team preparation? If you know the opposition you've got coming up, is there things that you change from week to week in terms of going up against a certain opposition?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We play the team's strengths and weaknesses each and every week. There's certain things that we do very well and stick to for ourselves, but if I'm about to enter the ring with Mike Tyson, then I want to know when he's going to be swinging so I can duck, and I want to know when I can have a crack at him as well. So, of course, I think there wouldn't be many professional sports teams that don't alert themselves to strengths and weaknesses of their opponents, and we certainly do. In a game of rugby league, there's some teams that's got certain traits that you would avoid like a Mike Tyson punch. There's some areas that you try to exploit at the same time. So, yeah, we do that on a regular basis.
So, in which case then is the method you approach this game with, is that different to the way you've done it previously with Huddersfield this season, or does the fact that it's a playoff game alter the way you approach the game, or is it the same as you would do against Huddersfield earlier in the year?
I think we've adjusted some of our the way we've gone about some of our back end of the year. I think that's mainly to do with weather, really, and conditions that you're likely to encounter at this time of the year. You need to make some adjustments in terms of style of play, and I think we've done that pretty well in recent times. But there's certain things that we will still try to do, that we've tried to do against Huddersfield and found successful as well. But there's some things that we've tried to do that haven't been so successful against Huddersfield as well. So we'll try and do less of that. And they'll be doing likewise. They'll be looking at our games and trying to exploit some weaknesses in our game and exploit the things that they're good at. So it should be a good challenge for both teams.
And do you think going off the matches you played this year, do you think Huddersfield have a little bit more to offer again, well, in terms of a threat against you than you've seen this year? Or is it just the way that you guys have managed to shut them down when you've played them throughout the season this year?
We've performed pretty well in each of those occasions, and that's what we've been able to achieve on that day. But that makes no guarantee for any future games. It shows that you need to perform each and every time, but no guarantee. We've played them in extreme conditions on a couple of occasions and all sorts of different situations. So, I'm sure it'll be a different situation again come Thursday. It's a different pressured sort of situation this week, and hopefully we can handle that and perform well.
And in physical terms, is your squad stronger than it has been at the same stage last year? For example, you had the extra weekend off for the Challenge Cup, and again in terms of winning the first playoff week. Do you think you're physically stronger than you have been at the same time last year, for example?
I would imagine so. I haven't sat down and looked at what squad we had available for last year. I think some of the experiences we gained from last year will certainly help as well, but we're in a pretty good situation physically, and I can't really remember where we were in the same situation last year in terms of availability of players. So a comparison is really difficult for me to do. What I hope we would have gained is some of the how to handle the certain situations and the style of play from some of our experiences last year. But the experience alone isn't enough, but it's always helpful.
Okay, and in terms of the emotion of the players, some of the players will be playing their last home game out there this week. Is that something, do you think, that affects their performances, or are they able to keep them, themselves contained in that sense?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're aware of that, but there's no big fuss being made of that pre-game. We're inviting all our fans to stay behind after the game, and we do want to say some farewells to some people. That's win, lose or draw. We'll certainly do that out post game, but there's no focus, and I'm sure the players involved, and I have spoken to them about some of that. They don't want any fuss about those sort of things, and they're focused on getting a good game out of the way. And if they get to do that, they get to wear the great Warrington colours another week. And, and their focus is performing well. If they don't do that, it will be their last time in their Warrington colours.
You need to get that right.
There is a priority there rather than being sentimental before games.
And so, just on, as for example, say Adrian's farewell. I mean, he was such an important player to bring in when the club got him, and he started the change. He heralded the change of the club from within. I mean, do you think he was an important player for Warrington to bring in terms of?
Oh, he's been an incredible addition to the Warrington family over the years. I think he's been a fantastic ambassador for our sport, and both for our club and our sport. And I think he's got a reputation all over the world of. He's a fantastic gentleman off the field, and he plays tough, rough and tough on the field, but fair at the same time. He hasn't been. He has had his indiscretions.
I was going to say indiscretions is a nice word, isn't it?
But not with any intent. He plays hard, and he expects other teams to play hard, and he's copped a lot himself over the years, and. But I think his peers admire him and look up to him, and that's a fantastic trait to have when your peers admire you, and there's certainly a lot of admiration for Adrian from his coach, but many others in the sport.
Yeah.
And he's held with high regard. So we'll say our farewells and our thank yous to at the right and appropriate time, and Moz is keen for that as well.
And so on farewells, then with the club's announcement of Tyrone and Rhys Williams heading off to new pastures, I mean, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, it's good and understandable for both those boys. They probably limited opportunities. Tyrone in particular is Warrington lad. I won't be surprised if we see him back in Warrington colours again in the future, because he's so much of a Warrington lad. But sometimes some of these boys have to go in order to get some experience elsewhere and improve them and give them a better chance of coming back and being a better player. Sometimes some of them don't get the opportunities because they're sitting behind other players, and that's the case for Tyrone. Tyrone's leaving on great terms, and we'll certainly welcome him back in the future, I'm sure. But and same for Rhys. Rhys has been sitting behind. He's had limited appearances and limited chances, and Rhys needs to go off and get some of that experience if he's going to further his career. So just like we've seen with Kevin Penny, who's gone away and coming back, and opportunities will arise, but similar to what we're doing with Matty Blythe, who's gone off and developing himself at Bradford, and hopefully one day we'll see him back in Warrington colours when he comes back a better player.
Well, can you say where Tyrone and Rhys are heading off to, or?
No, I can't be certain of that, and I don't think they're decided exactly.
Right. Okay. So, I was going to say, because I've not heard any sort of destinations at all. So
I think they're still working some of that through.
Okay. And slightly off topic in terms of the Wolves, but have you heard any more about in terms of your players going to World Cup squads or anything like that? Can you say in terms of players who are going to be selected by who, or
not really?
Is that all handled by the countries themselves, and they're
pretty much, and we'll get notified as and when appropriate. But I'd say they're keeping away from us a little bit at the moment, and understanding that we've probably got priorities in other respects.
Yeah,
which is fine and good that they're doing that.
And in terms of the Swinton lads who have finished their season, what can you give us an update in terms of the players who have been playing for as dual contracts? What their plans are for the future? Are you going to be continuing this same relationship going forward into next season?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So no departures or players who are leaving as permanent fixtures then?
There may be one or two that may move on from that I'm not sure that has been totally decided or announced at this stage, but we can confirm those guys that we have there today. But yeah, we'll go through the Swinton lads who are being retained or let go, or at some stage soon, I'm sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Tony.
No worries.